Mike. That was awesome. Thank you to everybody who's presented today. I'm here to talk to you. First of all, my name's Josh Ziering. I'm the co-founder and chief pilot of kittyhawk.io. We are the leading commercial drone enterprise management software. We have customers like CNN, Travelers Insurance, Shell Oil. We are powering the commercial enterprise adoption of drones. And today, I'm supposed to come here and talk to you about FAA's LANC, the Low Altitude Authorization Notification Capability. Unfortunately, for all of you fine people, I don't really feel like I'm in the mood to put you all to sleep. So I'm going to apologize right now to Patrick. I'm not going to talk about LANC. That's just dreadfully boring. I know, geez. So I'm going to talk about something else today. So come on a journey with me. Let's tell a story. Let's go somewhere and see if we can all get to the same place at the end of it. So it's 16 years ago, and I'm much skinnier and arguably a lot better looking then. And I see on TV model airplanes. I was like, this is awesome. I love airplanes. So I fire up the interwebs and I go onto the internet and I buy for $140 a model airplane that shows up 3 days later. It's powered by 5 nickel metal hydride batteries, and I go down to the local park after dutifully putting this thing together, reading every word of that manual, which made literally no sense because it was so poorly translated. And I go to my brother, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Here's the flight plan. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna fly around this park, and okay, we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna land it, and it's gonna be great. So we spool this thing up, right? Zzz. I'm like, all right, John, throw it. He hucks this thing, and no sooner does it leave his hand than it immediately nosedives into the ground and blows itself into a million pieces. I said, oh, well, that was really disappointing. So we pick up all the pieces and we go home, and I have no craft or modeling skills. I don't know which screwdriver to use. Like, I am just a complete moron when it comes to this. But we scotch tape this thing back together, and we go back out to the park. And I'm like, all right, I know what we did wrong. We got this. So, all right. I'm like, John, throw it. Okay. And it blows itself into a million pieces again. And I'm not very bright. I don't know if that's coming across here, but we continue to repeat this process 8 or 9 times until finally we get this thing to fly. And it goes, and it was like 13 seconds. I was like, awesome, awesome, do it, awesome. And then I found my way of flying into a tree. So we keep getting better and better and better at this, and we're fueled by the interwebs, where you can go on the internet, and there are a million keyboard pilots, as I like to call them, who will tell you what you're doing wrong, how you should do it better, and why their way is the only way. But not easily discouraged, we keep getting better and better. And I'm really into this electric airplanes thing, and I keep building bigger and bigger electric airplanes. When it comes time to go to school, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go down to Arizona. I'm gonna be an aerospace engineer. This is gonna be sick. Airplanes for play, airplanes for work, airplanes for everything. I believe that the way Arizona State put it to me is, you are not invited back to the aerospace engineering program. But I consider it as, they just didn't understand my awesomeness. So they kicked me out, but I continue to do more and more airplanes. I begin competing. I travel around the country flying model airplanes in competitions. I got a job at a hobby shop. I was able to pay my bills with model airplanes. And this is going somewhere, so I know this sounds insane, but I'm kind of headed somewhere with this. And this was awesome for me, because it didn't just teach me about building things and flying things and physics and electronics. It was a way for me to talk to other people, talk to people that were not my age. Some of my best friends were 20 years older than me. I met people that I would never otherwise meet if I was just kind of palling around in an aviation program at a college. And so I eventually kept escalating this. I got a job for the Phoenix Coyotes. I flew an 18-foot blimp that was a Taco Bell chalupa. And this was so the players would come off the ice, and they would trot me out there, and I would fly this thing around. It's 18 pounds, 18 pounds. And I would fly this thing over the stands, and I would drop coupons for free chalupas, which was awesome as a college dropout kid, because I'll tell you what, I never went hungry. I was embezzling the living crap out of those coupons. And I was like, okay, this is great. And they would pay me to do this. And so one day, I guess the owner of all of the Southwest Taco Bells was in the stands. And my handler was like, we need to inflate the chalupa more. It looks a little sad. I said, don't touch my chalupa, dude. I've pre-flighted this. We're good to go. And he goes, all right. And so I kind of go watch the game because you got tickets to the games. And I go down to fly my chalupa. And I'm like, this thing looks a little fuller. But I didn't really kind of internalize that. And so I'm going out there and I'm flying. And I'm commanding it to descend. And it's not descending. I'm like, well, that's not good. So I ask for more descending. No descending. And this thing starts climbing. Like the Jeffersons, it was moving the hell on up, and I had no way to get it down. And so panic is starting to set in. I'm literally on the ice, and like little beads of sweat are starting to form on my face. And I go to my buddy, I'm like, dude, it's not coming down. And I'm looking to see, like, what is the next logical step here, right? I'm now under a lot of pressure. This 18-pound flying brick is above all these kids because they obviously congregate under it. And I see it heading towards the sodium halogen lights that are like 300 degrees. And I don't know whether it was just good luck, good air currents, but as it's about to go into the light and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to evacuate people from section 26E, it starts to come down. And I'm like, okay. And I just catch this air current, and I'm not steering it, I'm not turning it, because that would take away thrust from moving it down. And it keeps going down, and finally, it lands directly in center ice. I'm like, oh, awesome. And I go in my sneakers out to center ice, and I drag this thing home like a bad dog. And all the while, I'm getting heckled by the hockey fans in the audience. Good landing, chalupa boy! It was a living nightmare. And I went to the guy, I said, did you fill up the chalupa after I asked you not to? He said, yes, I did. I said, I quit. That's terrible. You almost hurt a lot of people. And that was kind of when I decided I don't want to fly for money anymore. I just want to fly for me. Fast forward, we are here today. Kitty Hawk employs 11 people. I started it in my basement because I saw other folks doing drones, and I said, wow, this person has 2 years of experience and they're a drone expert. I've crashed more things than they've flown. This is garbage. And I had to ask myself, do I really believe in the commercial future of drones? And the answer that I could only come up with was yes, unequivocally. I know this is going to be the future. I like to say that I live in the future, I just have to reside in the past. Like in my mind, I see Drone Copter 7. I see roof inspections. I see traffic studies. I see everything happening with this joyous technology that's so limited. And none of it would have been possible if I didn't have that start with that one model airplane in that park that one day. So this is where I'm headed, and this is the hornet's nest that I'm about to kick. It's time to talk about 336. And thank you. Thank you. The reason I told you all those stories, and the reason I told you about my love and my passion for this industry, is because I want you to know exactly where I'm coming from. I would not be anywhere today if it were not for Section 336. I have been an AMA member since I was 16 years old, 782296. That's my AMA number. That was the insurance that I had when I was flying 50-pound airplanes at 100 miles an hour, 6 inches off the ground, in front of crowds of people, right? This is the safety and the element that I take to my work. I don't take this lightly. But something has changed. There's a fundamental difference in the market now that requires us to address what used to work really well. Because today, when you take something out of the box and you tell your brother, okay, throw it, it flies, and it just goes, and it just works. And the technology that we have today is not even close. I couldn't even dream of the toys that I have today, I couldn't even have imagined when I started flying at 17. And so for me, I don't take this lightly. I don't say, let's butcher 336, throw it out, and everyone has to be a 107. I don't think that there is a way that we can empower the commercial drone industry without addressing some fundamental problems. So having said that, I don't bring problems, I also try to bring solutions. 336 is good. It doesn't need to be thrown out. It just needs to be amended. We need to think about responsible ways to add value to the modeling community. So I call it the 7-10 split, because on this side, I want the commercial drone industry to flourish, and I want it to happen, and I want it to make people's jobs and lives better and safer and more capable. And on this side, I want 16-year-old Josh to be able to go to the local park and fly his model airplane, because both of those things are really valuable, but not mutually exclusive. It just requires a little bit of finesse to get the bowling ball to hit one and knock off the other. So, the first thing that I think is really important is remote ID. We know it's coming, we know we need it. I'll tell you a story about something that happened, 7 months ago now. I pick up the phone, I'm at work, and it's a support call. And on the other end of the line, this guy goes, "Oh man, my drone totally just went into the drink. It's in the middle of the bay." Like, okay, what would you like? He's like, "I need to know the telemetry. Where did you last see it?" Because Kitty Hawk takes second by second telemetry. And so I said, "Okay, do you mind if I take a peek in your account?" He goes, "No problem." So I go look to see where he was flying. And I look at the last coordinates and I said, "Dude, you were flying here?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "You're half a mile off the end of the runway of 4 right for Kennedy Airport." And he goes, "Oh no, it's cool. I was staying away from the planes." I said, "Okay." And then I take a glance down, for whatever reason, at my calendar, because I'm like in disbelief to what I'm hearing. And I noticed that it's the 11th of September. And I said, because my first instinct was to get furious. I was like, "Do you understand what it is you've done?" He goes, "No, I just was flying my drone." I was like, "Can I ask you a question? How old are you?" And he's like, "I'm 17. And it occurred to me that the gravity of the situation was lost on him because he was literally not born on September 11th, 2001. So I did my best to educate him. I said, "Listen, number one, this is not a good idea. We need to talk about airspace. What are you using to fly? How's this going? Why didn't you heed any of these warnings?" He goes, "Well, I just didn't know." And this is the problem, right? Somebody who is not informed is wildly capable. Whereas if you took the 40-pound airplane that I was flying when I was 21 or whatever, and you tried to fly it, you would have a brand new collection of really expensive toothpicks. That is not the case anymore. People have way more capability. So remote ID in this way I think is very important because one, it's going to give the opportunity to educate people. I think that it's really important that we think that, hey, if you want to go drive your car, you need a license plate. If you want to go fly your plane, you need an N number. You want to have a cell phone on the cell phone network, you need to have a telephone number. And oh, by the way, if we wanted to, we could probably triangulate you. You don't like it? Use a landline. So we need to think about common sense reform to participation in what I'm going to call the aviation community. Remote ID is going to be really important. Two, I'd like to talk for a minute about the inevitability of changes here. Acting Administrator Dan Elwell of the FAA said it himself at the symposium in Baltimore a couple months ago. We're going to need to talk about 336. And I generally like to stay away from policy, but when he said we're going to need to talk about 336, I knew it was time for me to start thinking about 336 because I have a vested interest in protecting 16-year-old Josh, but also this current Josh who wants to have a successful company in the commercial drone space. This is inevitable. Getting ahead of this and thinking about how we can address this going forward and creating common sense rules and laws and regulations is going to be hugely important. And everybody is either pitchforks or bleeding hearts and minds for 336. There is a pragmatic middle ground. I like to think that I'm trying to embody it. 3, and lastly, it's really important that we acknowledge today that there is more capability in one model aircraft than ever before. This is not just a dumb ship. This is something that has the ability to live stream video. This is something that you can go spy on the sorority house down the street. This is something that you can drop a beer in your friend's backyard. There are more capabilities than ever before. So when we think about 336, it's not just, well, how can we regulate this intelligently? It's about we have a lot more things to consider in terms of capabilities. So I'm going to leave you with this. There's a lot of opportunity here, both in the commercial space and for the next generation of aviators. For the first time in history, you can be a pilot without being an aviator. Your feet are on the ground and you are a member of the national airspace. This is serious and it demands our attention, but it also demands that we're all going to need to make compromises about which side of the fence we're on. You know, going and doing drone dives on Salesforce Tower, yeah, not real bright, but still a hobbyist. How can we get to that person and tell them, hey, maybe not the brightest idea, or hey, maybe get your 107 waiver and you're in Class G airspace and you can do it all day long. There's a lot of different options here, and I think that keeping an open mind and an even temperament is going to be the key and our way forward. That's it. Sorry, Patrick. I know I wanted to talk about Lance, but I had to, there was no other choice.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I'm listening to your 336 and I totally disagree.
I know you would.
336 was the deal that the FAA cut with ANA. They don't like it. They created it. And I think that, you know, your thing where you're like, oh, well, you know, we're going to, you know, we're going to limit 336 without enforcement. New rules aren't going to work. The other thing I've got is you've got a company like, you know, I don't want to beat up on that Chinese company, but they advertise that their aircraft are capable of flying way beyond visual line of sight. Supposedly their geofencing was going to stop all of these problems. So you want to clamp down on this problem. What you do is instead of classifying them as toys coming into the country, you classify them as aircraft and you register them accordingly. Or you have point of sale registration. And people have to sign an affidavit at the point of sale registration that they understand that there's rules and laws to operate the NASA, which was shot down during the registration task force that you know, some of the other manufacturers and software companies were a part of. When that idea came up,
Do you want the microphone? Come on up here.
I don't know if you have anything to rebut to that, but
I don't. But I'll take questions. No questions.
very good.